Welcome to the Finding the Magic podcast, where books come alive. I'm Tricia Copeland, a fiction author and host of this show. If you love books, finding great reads, and hearing about the story behind the story directly from the authors, this is the place for you. Whether you like fantasy, science fiction, dystopian, or romance titles, I think you'll find something to love in my playlist. Listen in to discover something magical about a book or two today. Welcome, Erik.
Hi, Trisha. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, and thank you for having me on your show.
Well, thank you for being here and taking time out from your sports watching. I hear from you that there's hockey and basketball going on. So,
It's a very busy sports time.
Erik D'Souza, mystery author. Who is your favorite? Which team are you rooting for here?
If it's for basketball, I'm in Canada, and the whole country roots for the Toronto Raptors.
Okay.
And if it's hockey, the Canadian team has not won the Stanley Cup in many years, so I'll root for every single Canadian team.
Well, interestingly enough, so I have family from the Toronto area and family in Calgary as well, but my sister-in-law is a huge Leafs fan. And so she, yes, bemoans the fact that they have never won a Stanley Cup. So, but is always
Not
still rooting for them.
not never, but maybe not in her lifetime.
Oh, okay, maybe. Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah.
It's been a while, a long while.
Well, thank you for taking time out to be here with me. I can't wait to dive in and hear all about your mystery books. Your first book was Death on the on Halfmoon Bay, right?
Yes,
And
Deathwind Halfmoon Bay is just for geological or geographical references. Half Moon Bay, if you followed like the Oregon Washington coast, an hour north past the border.
oh, in Canada, because there's a Halfmoon Bay in California as well,
Correct.
which I
Yes.
have been to. So that was going to be my question. Is this California? But no, it's Canada.
The thing about Half Moon Bay, and I think there's one in Australia too, they're almost interplaceable. Like if you get the feel of those communities, it's the same. It's a
Oh, interesting.
cozy, beautiful setting to spend your retirement in.
Oh. Well, jump in and tell us all about this book.
Sure. Suzanne and Charles Rickson, retired couple, moved from Montreal, East Coast to the West Coast to a very serene community. Everything is great. They live in a retirement community. Their children are with them, two adult daughters who started their own careers, and everything's going great. Suzanne has this, unfortunately, sort of long-term feud with the Strata or HOA president, kind of borrowing from real life. My parents did the same exact move. My parents live in this community. My mom had this really big fight with the person who was running the community and how it was supposed to be done. It was the inspiration to the book. Where it veers away from reality is somebody's running against the Strata president, and that person is murdered. They're poisoned. Both women instantly accuse each other of committing the crime, and the feud only just intensifies. I find in a seniors community, it's almost like revisiting high school again. In that it's filled with gossip and reputation, and even though the police are doing their job inside their own community, they are battling, and it's very much about that battle. Suzanne is more or less losing that battle. She is believed by both the police and the community, her friends, to have been the murderer, and she feels that the only way to solve or to prove her innocence is to solve the crime herself, something she's never done. It's kind of like a Miss Marple. I see her as a Miss Marple character who's never solved a crime before. It's like Miss Marple's first crime, but what if she was, um, you know, modernized, put into today's world, and at the same time, what if she had a family? Miss Marple very famously was alone. They wrote about a nephew, and that was about the extent of her connections to family. So now I'm also talking a lot about family. So it's also not only the mystery, but also the relationship she has with her daughters.
Interesting. Yeah, because the stakes would be much higher if you have a family and you have to worry about, I'm being accused of this murder and if I don't figure out who it is, maybe I'm taking the fall for this. But I can definitely relate to the
retirement community being a high school-ish community because my in-laws just moved in to a new community like a year and a half ago, and they say the same thing. They're like, yeah, if you sit at the wrong table during lunch, you get in trouble. And there's all these cliques, and and it's really hard to break into the cliques. And everybody is definitely like paired off, and somebody likes somebody and somebody doesn't like somebody. And I can relate to that feeling through them. Um, yeah, I mean, how was it writing a mystery sort of about your parents?
Um, I didn't initially start writing cozy mysteries. Um, I liked mysteries, but I wrote darker stories. And I think the darker stories is what attracted me originally to the crime genre. And I'm also a stay-at-home dad. And I was talking to a lot of parents, and they're like, "You wrote what?" And I was like, "You know what? Maybe I need to clean up my image a little bit." And my mom, who was the inspiration to the character, also is a huge fan of the golden age of mysteries. And I was kind of thinking, it's amazing how cozies or traditional mysteries are quite often 30-year-old women as the protagonists, and they're written for about that age group, and then just everybody just decides to read it, and that's what the industry is currently enjoying, and it's very successful. Cozy novels are one of the most successful genres there are to write. But I was like, nobody reads more than seniors, so I really want to write a book for them to relate to. If other people enjoy it too, that is great. My kids read it and they said it was fine, but it was written for my mom's demographic, for them to enjoy and to relate to a character when they're reading it, and not reminiscing of what it was like to be 30 and having bad luck with love and starting a small business. This is like having adult children, uh, talking. She considers her relationship with her daughter, who has one of their daughters has two children, and there's often a debate about how she's raising her children, and that's kind of a discussion I have with my own mom, who sometimes questions my parenting skills. And there's that constant battle of like, that's not how I raised you, and that battle hasn't changed. So instead of writing a story in the perspective of the middle-aged mom, it was writing the story of the grandmother, and her point of view and the way she looks at the world, and not shying away from technology. A lot of the senior community is not a really big fan of TikTok and stuff like that. But in the second book, her grandkids want to make a TikTok video and dance with her. And she's like, why would I do something like that? But at the same time, it's like, well, it's a way to connect with her grandchildren. And she has to accept this change. And she does,
Yeah,
begrudgingly.
there are so many issues at that age of like facing your own mortality, facing a lot of changes in your life. You may have to move away uh, from friends that have been a community and a support for you in order to be closer to your children, right? And
Hmm.
then you have to make new friends in this new location, and then you start all over. You don't know, just like high school, you don't know who to trust. You don't know, like, and then then obviously in your book they're in this turf war of and then you have a murder. So on top of all of that, um, that all sounds very challenging. And how was it? I mean, what point of view are you writing through the woman's point of view? Is it third person point of view?
It's third person fixed, which
Okay.
some people use. So essentially, that means you're not in Suzanne's head all the time. You're not getting her perspective. It's not I went to, it's Suzanne went to.
Okay.
Um, it's sort of again, it's kind of a callback to the golden age of mysteries, because you're only seeing it through her point of view. So you cannot see a clue that she doesn't see. Um, there's, if there is, I don't know, it's a Alfred Hitchcock reference, but if there's a bomb under the table, you could either show the audience there's a bomb under the table, or you can have it blow up and be a big surprise. Because it's third person fixed, you only know there's a bomb under the table when
Which she
Suzanne knows there's a
knows,
bomb under the table.
right?
So there's no clue, there's no foreshadowing, that she herself isn't observing. So it's some people call it fair play mysteries.
Okay.
So I'm writing a whodunit where the clues are there. You see everything Suzanne sees. She's not keeping any secrets from you, but Suzanne figures it out. Ideally, you don't as the reader, but you go, oh, I could have gotten it. And if you have that feeling
Uh,
of like the clues were there, I could have gotten it, I was really, really close, then it was a successful mystery.
well, that's what I love about mysteries is that like I watched the Knives Out movie, the first one with my daughter, and I was like, I figured it out. I was thinking the whole time it was going to be the this. I won't tell you what it was because that will spoil it. But I don't know if you've watched that series,
Yes,
but
yes,
it,
of course, yeah.
yeah. So I was like, I knew it, I got it, and that's like the greatest feeling, right? It's like you won the game. So that's interesting because when I think about writing mysteries, I feel like writing mysteries would be the hardest genre to write because you do have to sprinkle enough clues in so that maybe the reader can get it, maybe not likely to get it, but do you find that like especially challenging?
Oh, 100%. Um, because there has to be so many layers. Like the second one's the glass onion in that series that you
Right.
referenced, and that's a reference to the layers of a mystery. Some clues are clues to a secret, but it's not the secret that reveals the killer. It's a secret to somebody else's dark past or somebody else's secret, and you are revealing a lot of secrets. It's just not always the secret to the killer's motives. And then you put in those red herrings. And then again, it's that feeling of you could have gotten it. I watch a lot of Harlequin romance mysteries, and I'm always watching it like, oh, I could have gotten it. Or no, there was no way. There was a clue that they left in the last 5 minutes when the person's revealing it, and it's like, oh, that's the person's motive. Until you said that right at the end, that person didn't have a stake in the game. So Agatha Christie sort of created the world of everybody's a legitimate suspect. She actually often wrote her mysteries not knowing who the murderer was, thinking that all five suspects could be
Oh,
the killer, and then
interesting. And
picking
she
one
just
at the
decided
end.
at the end. Interesting. Yeah. So I'm not a huge mystery reader. I have to admit that. Like I said, I have watched all the Glass Onion movies now. And it was interesting. I was at this book con yesterday. I think I was telling you, and this person was telling me they were really, a lot of people told me they were really into cozy mystery. So it's very popular right now. But this person was telling me, oh, yeah, I grew up on Nancy Drew. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, I'm a generation older than you. And I grew up with Nancy Drew, but they were really old when I read them. So, I mean, yes, maybe you were reading them, but it's not like you were there when they first came out. So, not to delegitimize her in any way, but then I was thinking, yeah, maybe a lot. And I go back and try to read Nancy Drew now, but then I think they kind of seem dated even to me. So, and maybe it's just that technology factor of um, they're not up to date technologically. So
It's
interesting.
hard going back. It's interesting. I was never actually a big fan of the Nancy Drew Hardy Boys, which is rare for a mystery writer. But I watched a lot of the TV. That was the thing with my mom and I. We watched. It's another connection between us. Is she watched like the Sherlock Holmes and the Miss Marples, and she was a big fan of
Okay.
Remington Steele. I don't know if your audience knows Remington Steele, but early Pierce
Yeah.
Brosnan that my mom thought was quite handsome. So we watched a lot of that. So my original forte into, or my original entrance into mystery was through television, and
Okay.
that never left. And those were all based on sort of fair play mystery, also.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard that term. Obviously, I haven't studied mystery enough. So fair play. Thank you for letting us know about that one. And how did you become a writer? How did you start using this medium to, I guess, explore the world and kind of give us a little more slice of the world?
I'll try to make it short. Um, it is cliche, but it's true. A lot of writers feel from an early age they want to be writers. I still have like comic books that I wrote when I was really, really, really young. Um, and that's, I don't know, it's a creativity that stays. Like you're a natural born storyteller. And I think most writers are natural born storytellers. They don't necessarily become writers, but they daydream a lot. And I can't help but I daydream a lot. And I'm always imagining what if scenarios. And that has never changed. It's never left me. And I think that is a common thread for a lot of writers. Um, I kind of made a conscious decision in my college years not to pursue writing, mostly because I didn't think it would be profitable and sort of making a decision between art and commerce. And living the successful suburban lifestyle that I really wanted to live and repeat that my parents had. So I followed that career. Um, around around the 30s, my wife and I sat down, had a discussion. We had young children. We decided that we were financially capable to have one stay-at-home parent. And I know traditionally that is the woman, but times are changing, and I'm very happy of it. I I'm a better cook. She's making more money than I was, so the decision was that it was going to be me who sacrificed their career. Um, and anybody who's ever done it knows that it is a huge sacrifice, and it's not just changing diapers at the beginning. It becomes PTA meetings, it becomes coaching, it becomes being involved in your children's lives. The beauty of that, though, is there's a little bit more free time, and you don't get bogged down with the deadlines and all the stress that work creates. Um, and I actually quite enjoy it. And while I was, washing dishes, I would start daydreaming again. And that daydreaming led to, well, maybe I could start writing short stories again. And then I asked my wife, is like, do you mind if I like write a novel and take a shot at it? And she was like, go for it. And so I did, and it was completely unsuccessful. It was memoirish, it was edgy. Um, and I didn't want to change it. A lot of people who read it were like, oh, okay, it's brave that you wrote this. It's a reference to Henry Miller, like edgy memoir. And it was about my early years of moving from Montreal to like a gay district in Vancouver. And it's a very different, eye-opening experience. Um, Pretty much did never get an audience. And most people who I talked to about it were like, no, it's a good book, but nobody's going to read this. You're not going to make a living writing this. And I sort of begged my wife. I was like, if I write genre fiction, maybe people will
I love
start.
that bargaining. If I do this.
Well, and she's a logical person. So she was kind of like, she put like a deadline on me and said, you need to make X amount of money per year within this time frame. And I was like, well, I'm a business person too. I studied marketing. And I was like, I can do that, but it may not be strictly on selling books. And that's when I started branching out. I started a publishing company, and I started publishing other people's books. I ended up getting a job at Crime Writers of Canada, which is my job to promote Canadian writers at a national level. And I get paid for that. And I do podcasting. I promote other people on social media. I go to a lot of events. Like BoucherCon is a huge writing event, a community that's coming up, and I'm in charge of an entire room for the weekend. So I put on a lot of content like that. I've reached the level where I'm semi-famous, which is nice. I feel like a celebrity sometimes when I go to these conferences because everybody's like, Erik, I listen to your podcast, and it's like it fills my big head. I can't help it. I didn't realize I had a craving for it, but I was like, this is nice. And it's maybe it's what keeps me going, but I love the fact that when somebody says I read your book, and it's like, okay, I'm not making a lot of money out of selling my books. I know a lot more successful authors, and I interview them all the time, but I get such a happiness, and I'm sure you get it too. If somebody that you don't know comes to you and says, I've read your book, I loved it. That just fills my
Yeah.
soul. And I think that's what keeps me going more than anything else is I put out my art. For you to consume it, it's going to take you about 10 hours roughly. And if you committed to that 10 hours, and at the end of that 10 hours you enjoyed it enough to like pick me out of a crowd and tell me you liked it, I'm so happy. And it just keeps me going.
Right. That'll keep you going for 5 more years.
I have this dream, and I don't think it's ever going to happen, of like going on a bus or something like that and seeing somebody reading my book, and it'd be like, "That's me. I can sign that for you." Nobody uses paperback books anymore, so I don't think it's going to happen, but it's a dream.
I don't know. People are going back to paperbacks. I talked to a lot of people that are like, no, really, if I'm going to read, I would rather read a paperback because my face is in a computer all day. So it may happen. You may get there.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Well, I completely relate to your path. I was a stay-at-home parent as well. And my neighbor actually was the dad stay-at-home parent. So we would meet every day, like in the cul-de-sac at 5 o'clock to have our wine. And I was PTO president for like 4 years, and just FYI, I never do that. It would just be like the HOA person at the retirement community. You probably would get murdered at some point, or at least have a death threat. So I could just give that little piece of advice there in
I went
case
to
you're
one
ever
meeting.
considering it. Okay.
I went to one meeting and I was like, nope.
Run fast.
That's what I
Anyway,
did.
anyway, but but to circle back to your book, I love that
Mhm.
path. That's so much fun. And I think being a stay-at-home parent, I mean, when they get older, it seems like it's more mentally challenging because it's not as physically challenging, it's more mentally challenging. Like, am I gonna say the wrong thing? But when they're younger, it was definitely that thing. My brain needed that creative outlet because I
Mhm.
wasn't getting it other ways. So that's really fun that you kind of found that outlet and you bargained for what you wanted. So that's amazing. Your second book is Death on the Rails. Does it follow the same characters, or did you jump into different characters on this one?
No, Death on the Rocks, it
Or
follows the same
rocks, sorry.
characters. No problem. It is about 6 months after the events of the first book.
Okay.
Um, One of the things that people who read my book told me is they like the Charles character. So even though Suzanne is the protagonist, Charles, her husband, again, sort of copied from my dad, is this like really lovable person, like the kind of guy you want to have a beer with, and everybody does. And they were like, more Charles, more Charles. So again, sort of borrowing from real life, my dad was part of a theater group, a seniors theater group that raised money for the seniors community group. And I was seeing the politics there. I was like, oh, I think I'm going to write about that this time. And again, imaginary scenario, but the right before a big production coming out for them, a big fundraiser for the community center, the director is dies, and it's on the rock. So he lives in a beautiful house on the coast, overlooking the ocean, and he's out there one night, and they find his body there, and it's presumed that he slipped on the rocks because it was raining, and he should have came inside, but he didn't, and that's sort of where the mystery begins. Suzanne is a reluctant. Like the first time, she had to solve the crime because she was directly involved. The second time now, she is well. I'm not Miss Marple. I'm not supposed to go around involving myself in these
I'm
things.
retired now. I don't have to do this, right?
Exactly. So she's reluctant to really look into it. The police say it's a accidental death, and she goes along with it. There's two people in the house at the time. Is he of the victim? He is remarried, so he's older, and he has a younger bride. They seem, by all means, to be very close, and for the most part, again, sort of playing on the dynamics, everybody in the community likes her, or everybody in the production group likes her. She is very supportive of her older husband, and even though they're suspicious at first, they grow to love her. He has a daughter who, for a long time, he was separated from, and she very recently just moved into the house. She separated from her husband. She stayed in Montreal, and she just like within a few months moved into the house. She, unlike the wife, is not liked. The husband put her in as a wardrobe manager, and she has let's call it a chip on her shoulder, and she's just mean. She's mean to everybody, and nobody likes her. So if there's any suspicion at all, it's her. And the police are doing their job, and Suzanne's again staying on the side. She's talking to all of them because she's part of the theater troupe herself. And eventually, the daughter comes to her and says, "I need your help. Everybody thinks I did this. I would never do this to my father." Um, and even Suzanne doesn't really like this young woman. She's hard to like, but reluctantly, she starts to look into it. And then the wife, her name's Christine, she herself is attacked. And
Oh,
now, I mean, now she's attacked. So it's like, oh, there is a criminal in this story. So it's quite possible that somebody did push the director right at the beginning of the story. And Suzanne didn't look into it at the time, and she feels a little guilty that perhaps if she looked into it, she could have solved the crime right from the beginning and maybe even saved the wife.
Neat. Well, yeah, I mean, both of those people might have motive, right? I mean, the wife would get the insurance money and the daughter might get some money too, right? So, but
And
then
it's yeah,
the
it's
wife is
sorry, but
attacked. So,
it's a lot of money.
oh, okay.
If you live in a house in the community on the water,
On the water, then yes, it's a lot of money. So, yeah, okay. Well, that's setting up a really good mystery for us. So, fun. Are there going to be more books in this series? Do you have some planned out?
I am very, very close to finishing the third book. I'm in a very busy time for social media work and stuff like that, so it's kind of on the shelf. I'm very much hoping to finish it in the summer. I'm so close. It's finished in my head, and now it's just a question of finishing it in the books. And it's meant to be a 3-book arc. So I've always envisioned these 3 books working together. Um, I know a lot of mystery writers would say you can pick it up at any time and it's fine. I would say the opposite. Treat this almost like a science fiction. Start from the beginning. There's an arc that Suzanne's going through. There's an arc that her daughters are going through. And I would really advise to start from the beginning. Even though there is a mystery encapsulated in each one and they're separated, the arc really should be followed from the beginning.
Right, right. Because, yeah, if you do have those other plots that maybe is what your series is really about, like you said, the family and the relationships and the experience of this time of the characters' lives, then following that arc would fit. Although, if you would want to do a spin-off, I think you should do the PTO president gets killed. So just put it out there. Susanna's daughter could not, maybe you don't want her to get killed, but maybe she's in the PTO and she's the vice president. She has to step up or something like that could happen. So,
Hey, you are dealing with the politics of the PTO again. So actually, she's very much involved in the third book.
oh, interesting. Fun. Well, good,
She
good.
won't go away. She just won't go away.
This is wonderful learning about your books. Tell everyone where we can find you.
The easiest spot is my website, erikdesouza.com. I'm lucky that I have a fairly original spelling of my name, so it's Erikdesouza. There's not too many Eriks with a K. It's Norwegian, and I have a Portuguese last name. So I'm lucky that if you Google me or anything like that, I'm easy to find. Through erikdesouza.com, you can find my books. You can find a few short stories. You can find connections to Facebook. You can also find my podcast that I do for Crime Writers of Canada. A lot of great Canadian authors have been there. I've interviewed a few Americans. I just recently talked to Mike Graney, the writer of The Gray Man.
Oh,
So
funny.
completely different than what I write, but
Yeah.
but a very fascinating person to talk to, and it's fun talking to authors.
Yeah. I love talking to others. So I'm a little bit biased though. So yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I hope you'll come back when you release your next book.
If you have me, I will be here. Thank
Of
you.
course. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Finding the Magic podcast. I'm your host, author and podcaster Tricia Copeland, and I love getting behind the scenes. If you like the podcast, make sure to subscribe and stop in each week to discover new authors and books. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep finding the magic.